Hello everyone, my name is Bree and welcome to Document a Journey. I have a super special video for you today. I am going to be chatting about the new release that Letter Sparrow has for new paints. And these are in tube form, but the cool thing about these is they are not watercolor. They are gouache. And I am super excited to be able to do this collaboration with Kelly over at Letter Sparrow. I chose to name this palette Terrain because you can do any kind of landscape with just these 5 colors. So I wanted to do a little lesson with you today and show you how to mix these paints to make them amazing yellows, greens, blues, and browns to create your landscapes. So let's get started. Okay, so I've turned you down and I just want to show you what you can do with these 5 colors. There's not very many, but you can make ample amounts of greens, browns, and blues for all the sky colors, for all the landscapes. I mean, this is why this palette is called Terrain, because you can pretty much paint any kind of landscape or any kind of terrain. So I have blank mixing wells and I have my paints. Now these are gouache, so they do react with water, but you want to paint with more paint than water. So let's just keep that in mind. And then I am gonna put the image right here so that way you can see what we're painting with as we go. I'm not going to be using any pencil or anything like that to first sketch out the image. I'm going to actually be doing it in the blue color that we make for the sky. But if you feel more comfortable and confident sketching with a pencil first, by all means, go ahead and do so. So we're going to be using the white a lot, so keep that around. I'm going to be using 3 brushes, 1 small number 2 flat brush, 1 number 4 round, and 1 number 2 round. That is the brushes that I'm going to be using today. I'm going to pick up the flat brush and mix my color. Now I'm trying to create a light blue. And that's what I'm going to be sketching everything with today. So I'm going to start by sketching or just by outlining this shape right here. This is the very front ground shape. I'm going to actually extend it. And the cool thing about gouache is when you put it on the paper, it is not permanent there. You can paint over it. And that's what I absolutely love about it, because if I mess up, it's not that big of a deal because I can paint over it. So this is going to be what my hill looks like. And then I have these 2 kind of like bigger portions, little rounded hills in the background. Now I want to start actually painting in the sky, and I'm going to clean my brush so that way I have a clean brush. I'm going to add some white to just a plain white section. I actually put that blue on there prematurely, so I kind of like wipe my brush on that. So I'm just going to pick that up with my rag so that way it's clean. All right, I'm going to use a round brush for the sky, and I'm going to tap that blue, and I'm going to start with the clouds. The clouds come up. All right, so I use more water than I will once I get to the foreground. So the background layers, I use more water so that way I can build upon them. And then once I add more layers, I start to get more thick, and you'll kind of see that. We're gonna put more white on here and keep building up the clouds. So I kind of laid my first layer down and it was a little more watery, and now my second layer is going to be more paint. So when I do this, it will plop on top of it, and then you don't have to worry about it kind of blending out like watercolor, because this is gouache. When I do this, with watercolor, I tend to work in layers. Well, with gouache, I want to be able to blend my colors as I go. And so what I normally end up doing is picking up a little bit of a darker color and then picking up a little bit of a lighter color and kind of blending those as I go, and working together and kind of almost acting like my palette is my paper. All right, so we're getting some clouds in. This looks really good over here, and now I'm just gonna continue over, adding in a deeper portion where it is a darker blue. And you can tell that from the image. And a good way to also be able to tell situations like that, looking for depth in an image, is to squint at it. If you squint at the picture, you're going to be able to see that there is darker versions in different places. And so that's what I'm focusing on. When I squint at it, I see that there's some light here. So I add more white to my paintbrush. If my paintbrush is just too full of paint and I don't know where to put it, sometimes I clean it off. We're just trying to build up the cloud. So as I go through the top of this cloud, it gets a little darker in color. And then as I get away from it, it turns lighter because it's going into the other cloud. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a flat brush and I'm going to work in the clouds a little bit. So when I do this, I'm going to take a watery version of that blue color and I'm going to work back and forth like this. And this creates the underneath of the cloud. It's really subtle, but it will create that underneath of the cloud, so that way you know that you are, you know, on top of it. It's on top of you. We're gonna move on to down here. I'm going to mix a light yellow, so I'm gonna take the gamboge. This was marine. I don't think I mentioned that. That was marine, but with this one, I'm gonna take the gamboge, I'm gonna put it over on this side. And I'm gonna take white. So this is a yellow ochre color and the titanium white. I'm gonna mix those two together to create a light yellow. I'm gonna do this with my flat brush. And now I'm going to paint in this first section. Just completely paint it in. I'm gonna scrub out that blue line a little bit to get it to go away. Now what I'm gonna do is anywhere that is yellow, I am going to put this color. So I'm gonna squint at my picture again, and I'm going to mix the white and the yellow together with my flat brush. And anywhere that is bright, I am going to pop this color in. It's not going to be perfect. I'm just putting in my highlight. Now I'm going to mix a light green. So I'm going to take the marine blue again. I'm going to put it over here. And some gamboge, which is that yellow. And then we're going to take white. We're gonna add white to pretty much everything until the end. All right, and now we're gonna take our flat brush. When I dip it in the water, I like my brush to be wet, but not so wet that it creates too much of a watered down version. So I'm gonna create this green that kind of looks like this, and then I'm gonna just add white to it. And just keep mixing until I get a good light green, something like this. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go in, and anywhere that it is darker green, I'm gonna put this guy in here. It's going to look very blocky at first, which is fine. This is just kind of like doing the underpainting. The next color we're going to be making is a darker green, so we're going to take the indigo. And when you squeeze out the indigo, you only need the tiniest bit. And then you're going to take the gamboge, more gamboge than indigo in this one. And then of course, you guessed it, you're going to take the white and put that in a little section. I like to use more white than gamboge. And now I mix to make this earthy, emeraldy, kind of rich green. All right, and now I'm going to be putting that in all the places that are dark, the darkest sections. So I'm going to squint and then apply that. I'm going to switch to my round brush because this brush is getting a little too big for some of the places. Now I kind of want to mix the two together, and by doing that, I'm going to be switching between these three colors. So I just want to make sure that I have enough yellow and the white. So I squeezed out some white, and I'm going to mix more of this in here. When I do this, I'm going to apply my lighter color, but then I'm also going to pick up some of my darker green. I might need some more gamboge in here. It turned a little blue on us. So just like we did in the clouds, you're going to use the paper as almost like your mixing palette. So I'm going to come in here and apply this color kind of on the paper, and then take my lighter color and blend it together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make brown. To make brown, I'm going to take the orange, which is Cosmo. I'll squeeze that out on my empty palette, and then I'm going to take indigo. Oh, that came out a little much, that's okay. And then a tiny bit of gamboge. And then I'm going to mix that together to make brown. I'm going to use my flat brush. I'm going to add a little bit of white in this section for when I do want to mix a lighter brown and a little bit more orange. I want to make a darker yellow too. Okay, so I'm gonna take my round brush and pick up some of this brown. I'm gonna drop it in places that are really dark. So this, I want to use a light hand, and you want your paint to be really fluid. So maybe even adding a little bit more water to it than you normally would. But find that consistency that glides on top of this paint really easy, so that way it's easy for you to paint. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to define these dark areas. Picked up the brown and add it into my dark green, and this will act as a deeper green as well. And I'm just using strokes when I'm applying it to the paper. Now see here where this doesn't blend really well? I'm gonna take my deep green and I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna blend it out a little and then work my way out. My lighter green. And I just wanna get this to blend more. I'm gonna take a really thin brush. I'm gonna pick up this brown I made, and I'm gonna try and do some detail work to define this hill. Now what I'm gonna do is down here, I am going to create some depth right here, and then also some different colors and tones in here. So I'm gonna water down my light green, and I'm going to squint at my picture and figure out where I can apply this middle tone to the grass up front. This doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to be, I'm going to take a watered down version of the darker color and do the same thing. And because you're applying it to the wet paint and it's watered down, it's going to react with each other and kind of bleed, which is perfectly fine. All right, so now I'm gonna go up top here and I'm gonna create a really dark outline, almost just using the indigo. So I kind of touched it on the brown. And when I do this, I want to almost create the strokes of the grass. So when I pull up, I want to pull up in points. Getting to a certain point, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this darker green color. So now I've created this outline for the grass to be. And now I want to work on this area. I want to add, this is kind of like the lightest spot. So you want to have more white in here to make sure that your highlight is coming through. So I'm just going to plop some white on here in the front and the back one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a brown or a browner yellow. So I'm going to take some of this brown, I'm going to add it to my yellow over here. And now I'm going to start using this All right, I'm gonna take and make this again and use it in this section here. Now I'm just going to take the brown again and come back in and just see where I can add detail. Detail meaning just little bitty things of grass, and not even like things of grass. It's just to for the eye to be kind of tricked. And oh, there's some grass there, or this is a lot of texture right there, or something like that. Now I'm going to take white wherever I think that there needs to be some bit of highlight and scratch that kind of into. So this lesson can be done with any kind of paints that you have. If you have similar paints to what I have, or if you have purchased the terrain palette, this is a perfect lesson for you to try, just mixing all the colors and seeing what beautiful yellows, greens, and browns, and a little bit of blues that you can get. I hope you enjoyed doing this lesson with me. I had a really great time painting, and I think that these gouache colors, this gouache formula that Kelly at Sparrow has come up with is amazing. There are a few things that I wanted to talk to you about just to update you or inform you on what's going on in her world over there. She is going to have these available for you today. Actually, she had them available for you yesterday. So these were available April 30th, and you can pop on over to her website and check them out. The link will be in the description box for you. Not only will she have these tubes, I'm going to pick them up. So a tube like this, 6 ounces for each tube. She also will have dot cards so you can test and try them out. And she will also have pans of these colors available for you for purchase. The last thing that I wanted to mention was that she is going to be having a giveaway in June. But it's only for newsletter subscribers. So if you haven't signed up for her newsletter, please do so. She is going to have a lot of fun, artsy, creative things for the giveaway, and there just might be something of mine in there. You will have to subscribe to find out. If you enjoyed this lesson, please head over to my website. The link is in the description box for you. I have many other lessons available. And until next time, everybody, I'll see ya.